What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know what it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression podcast, brought to you by MSOTD Rocks or Rock and Metal Thrive. So happy Tuesday, everybody. Today is October 13th, and I've got an incredible interview for you today because I got to talk with singer-songwriter Simon McBride out of Northern Ireland. And one thing I was expecting to talk about was talk about music, talk about this guy's backstory. But if you are listening to music in 2020, we really go in deep with everything about listening to music in 2020, the theory behind it, and really understanding what it's like to listen to music. And also we talk about his EP and everything he's done in 2020 and like from last year as well. So this is really incredible, especially if you're a emerging band in the scene today, to really listen to this and really get the take that we have here, because we go through so much that you will not want to miss it. So take notes, everybody. So are you guys ready? Because this one is incredible about music theory and Simon McBride's new music. So let's go. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression podcast. You guys keep hearing me talk about this guy, Tim, that I worked with to get the interview with James Clark of Kill the Lights. He keeps sending me all these incredible artists, and he brought me another one today. So please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Simon McBride. So Simon, welcome to the Chord Progression podcast.
Glad to be here. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for being on. How's everything over in your end of the world?
It's all fine. I live in Ireland, so I live across the water. It's all good considering 2020 is a bit of a nightmare this year, but yeah, it's all good. I've just been busy, just releasing music, doing music, anything music related. I'm doing it, so yeah, it's all good.
Makes sense. I was hoping to get over there at some point this year, but of course, 2020 basically destroyed all my plans. The only time I've ever been in Ireland was to catch a flight from connecting flight from Amsterdam to Dublin, then Dublin back to Chicago. So yeah, I got to spend like a half hour in the airport, and that was about it.
Yeah, it's Ireland. It's a lovely place. It's beautiful. The scenery and stuff. The only pain in the ass about it is just the weather. It sucks. It's mostly rain all the time, and it's cold. So. But you know what? It's home. That's where I'm from. It's where I live, and it's Ireland. I actually call it the Clyde because I just feel I remember years ago Apple, they used to have the kind of like their headquarters, or not the headquarters, like one of their main operations places in Ireland, because I think it saved them on money or something. And I always thought the Clyde, that makes a lot of sense. Ireland is basically covered in a cloud of rain all the time. Anyways, that's me rambling on about that. Anyway.
That's totally A-okay. Because last year I had a decision to make, because I was in Croatia with doing a thing with 30 Seconds to Mars, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I don't want to leave just after that. Like, I want to spend some time in some other city. I'm like, okay, I can either do Dublin or Amsterdam, one of the two. I decided to go Amsterdam, and it was 40 hours that I still think about that I was there, because I slept like maybe 2 of them, and I just had a blast the whole entire way through. So I was like, this year I'm going back, I'm spending more time there, stopping in more places, and then also seeing a lot more music. But of course, 2020 happened.
Exactly. Nothing happened. That's basically is what happened this year. Nothing is happening at all. So, but yeah, Amsterdam is a great place. I've been in there several times. But yeah, I know how you feel. It's like sometimes when you're a musician, you get to go. People ask me all the time, "So you've seen lots of different countries," and I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen the airports. They're lovely." But that's about it. I don't really get to see much of anything else when it comes to different countries. So yeah, there's a lot of countries I'd love to go back to, like yourself, and just spend some more time in it. But who knows?
I mean, maybe once 2021 hopefully comes around and this whole entire thing ends, where everyone can kind of just go back to freely traveling the world, that you get a chance to, especially with your new EP coming out, like just go out and promote it and play some live shows, but not only that, but also get some time to explore a little bit more.
Yeah, well, that is the plan. These EPs were, believe it or not, were never really supposed to be released. But I spoke to the record label, and I convinced them to release them, because I was like, well, why not just stick them out there? It's music, and I'm so glad we did, because at the end of the day, 2020 happened, and because my album was supposed to be out this year. It's now been put back to next year due to COVID-19 and stuff. So the EPs are great because we're putting them out, and it's with today's industry, you have to keep your name in the frame. So that's EPs come out, and it's keeping my name out there. So it's good. The EP, having the EPs done. It took a while, but we got there.
Yeah, but it's like you're giving the fans a little bit of a taste of something this year so that they're not just waiting like, okay, when's Simon coming out with something? Or then their focus kind of shifts onto someone else. So by the time the album comes out, you're still fresh in the mind of fans. And then once the album comes out and you start being able to tour again and play some live shows, people have had you in your have had you in their mind pretty much the whole entire year.
Yeah, that's basically the plan, because we the releases are staggered, so it's keeping people, as you say, keeping my name out there and fresh in people's minds. And with the EPs, we decided to do different covers on them, like the Dead in the Water and Kids Wanna Rock, which are on the latest one. They're cover songs of Bryan Adams and David Gray. So, and that also, puts me towards different people as well. So it's I think it's important these days, just to try and do anything you can in 2020, because touring is not there, so we can't go out and tour and play to people, or even do festivals where you may draw in new people. So it's important to just keep your music out there. And plus, there's a lot of fans out there who, as you say, if I don't release something, they'll go listen to someone else, and I'm like, oh no, listen to my stuff. It's so it's been an important thing to have this year. So I'm glad we did it.
So I'm glad you did it too, especially like we were talking about with the way the music industry is, and the way the fans are now is just with how it's consumed with streaming on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you might be streaming your music from, due to the fact that if you release, say, an album like once every 2-3 years, what happens is for those first couple of months, like that album is going to be pushed out there. You're going to be featured on playlists, and people are going to end up listening to you because there's going to be that cycle there. But what happens when all of a sudden, more people start putting out new stuff in between or after that time, then your stuff kind of gets pushed to the back. And if you don't come out with anything for another 2-3 years, I've seen some bands do this. It's just kind of like, okay, well, whatever happened to you in there? Even though you might have been touring, you might have been doing a lot of stuff. It's just put out something just to give the fans a little bit of a taste of something else, so that, especially when it comes to streaming, you're just constantly there, at least at one point or another. And that's not anything on just like the way the music has been produced. It's just a way of that the industry has transformed since all of a sudden it was MP3s and now it's streaming. So it's just the way that everything has transformed over the past 20 years.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, some people are still living in the time of the 70s and 80s, where you could put an album out and then take a year off and have a break, and so you put out an album every 2-3 years. Now, with the internet and modern technology, everything's all computer based, and it's all algorithms basically. So if you're not, it's like if you're on even on social media stuff and you're putting posts up on Instagram, you're going to gain more followers because you're putting more posts up every day, every week. And the algorithms, whatever way they work, they see that and they keep pushing you towards stuff. Whereas you should take a break. You disappear from the computer generated robot that's doing all this stuff, and you don't do it. So it's the same with music. You got to keep sticking up stuff. Like I always try to stick out stuff. Whether it's like a live thing, like on one of my last tours I did, we recorded. Well, every gig we do, we record it. We bring our own system, so we record the whole thing. And in between, tours, we would kind of make like what we call a bootleg live CD. We sell that to the people. It means if there's a certain tour, there's a little snapshot on a CD or whatever. Or do people listen to CDs anymore? I don't know. But so it gives people something, and you're constantly keeping your name in the frame. Like there's other. If you look at some of the more successful artists, like in the kind of like blues rock scene, there's like Joe Bonamassa, who's like one of the number one. Like he nearly puts out 3-4 albums a year, and you have to ask yourself, why does he do that? Because keeps churning over, keeps promoting his stuff. We are all we're just a product, really. And because if you think about it, you know, I don't know about you, but I get bombarded every day by junk from, like, I don't know, Amazon or whatever, and it's keep promote. I'm sitting going, if I did that with my music, I'd be doing a lot better right now. So I keep putting that stuff, but it's music's different. Obviously, it's hard to physically create that amount of music to keep bombarding people every day with. But it's an interesting period of time that we live in, and but yeah, it's some bands feel for them because they take too long, and you have to kind of, we can all bitch and moan about the way the industry is at the minute, but you just got to get on with it and go with the times, and that's just the way it is. I can't change it. you know it's a massive thing. I can't go in as one person and try to change the way the industry works. So you have to work with it and go, okay, so I need to release maybe two albums a year, an album or a studio album and a live album. Done. I can do that. That's easy. And that keeps it going. 6 months of the year, somebody's talking. Ideally, you'd like to be releasing 3 things a year, but it all depends. It's touring and stuff. But yeah, some people unfortunately live in that period of, well, release an album, take a break, and then come back. And no, if you release an album, take a break, you're dead, gone. That's it.
Yeah, I was talking with my dad about that because he grew up in the 70s and 80s, so that was his style of music. So listen to a lot of like Van Halen, Rush, ZZ Top, hair metal. So it's like when all of a sudden he started seeing all these bands are coming out with just a new song like every couple of months, he was kind of freaking out about it because he just, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. And I kind of had to lay it down from like, okay, everything is different now. I mean, he just got his first cell phone at the end of 2015. So
Nice.
he wanted to hold on to that landline for dear life, man. It was something. But one other thing too is just when it comes to the music industry changing, it's something where if you're going to end up trying to hold on to the past and be nostalgic about it and have this certain sort of put it on a pedestal because that's how you got there, that's not going to equal success in the long run because things are going to change. People are going to adapt. And people are going to start doing different things that get them more notoriety. Some things, especially with streaming. Streaming became a huge thing this year, not only with streaming live shows, but other people in like the hard rock, metalcore scene, like Matt Heafy from Trivium, Ronnie Radke, Craig Mabbitt, Telly from The War Live. They've gone on Twitch and they just started streaming. And I mean, Ronnie's like the biggest streamer on Twitch right now after about not even a year on there, just having fun with it. So it's just... especially with 2020 now, it's okay. Everything is different. There aren't any concerts. There aren't any tours, no festivals, nothing. What can you still do to keep yourself relevant and keep yourself in the know with everybody when no one's coming to your shows and people are staying at home and just kind of sitting there thinking, when can we get back to live shows? Come on, man. We got to get through this, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's you can sit around and wait on it, or you can just get with the program and go with what's happening at the minute and just do it. That, to be honest, there's a lot of older musicians out there who are as you said, like your dad, he's got his first cell phone 2015. There's a lot of musicians out there who are in that older bracket and they probably still don't know how to turn a computer on. So, but for me, when this whole thing hit, I was fortunate enough. I did a little bit of social media, not a wild amount. I did, but I took it as an opportunity to go, okay, let's get more online, more YouTube, whatever, all the the top platforms are. But I just try to make something of that because that is the next generation. It's this generation. It is this generation. It's the next generation is going to be some evolution of that. I think it's an interesting thing because I when I see like guys doing or bands doing live gigs online, I don't like it because it goes against everything that I do. But it's like, okay, it's still an opportunity to see somebody play. But yeah, it's I don't know. There's something about it though. It's like when you watch a band playing in a sitting room and they're playing live. It's like it's like being in a rehearsal room. It's like, I don't know. It's not, you go to a gig and you have that, the big stage. It's like, or, the audience and stuff and the sign. It's like being at a football match. It's, it's the vibe. It's the crack. That's what we all miss mostly about live stuff. But I can see there's going to be probably some sort of crossover between the whole online thing and, live thing, more and more now, I believe, because I think people are going to be a little bit more afraid in case something like this happens again, because it probably will, happen again at some point. Maybe in, I don't know, 100, 200 years or whatever. But uh, hopefully not in my lifetime again. Don't think I can deal with another one. But
Yeah.
there will be another. I think there will be a more online presence within music, and I can even see it. I think my record company told me the other day, I think YouTube are now starting to pay out properly, not properly, but pay out something for music being played or something. So I think it's like 0.00001 of a penny or something like that. But whatever. It's still something. So
It's still something, because like some of these bands, especially with some of their music videos, like some of them have like over 100 million just views on their YouTube videos for. Because I'm thinking like with Rise Against, my favorite band, so I was like with them. Savior has 143 million views. It's like, maybe they could have gotten paid for that a little bit more than what you guys actually did, due to the fact of how many people watch that video. But that's just kind of what happens. But I know you're talking about with the live stream shows, because I remember when COVID first hit, the first one that really did that was Dropkick Murphys, because they wanted to do something for St. Patrick's Day, so they had one at their basically at their rehearsal space. And I'm not gonna lie, they actually put on a pretty good show. They had some of the stuff going on. They had some of the stage presence, so it was cool because it was the first thing like that. But I'm seeing certain bands come out with those virtual concerts where you have to pay, you get to watch for 48 hours. But it's just something where I miss going to shows and just experiencing all of that. I just miss the whole entire connection that you get to the music when you actually get to listen to it live and just see everything going around there, participating with the fans and just also connecting with the musician on stage as well, just watching what they're doing and just feeling the same emotion at the same time. I know they're doing drive-in shows now, because Beartooth is doing one about an hour away from me in the middle of October, and I'm thinking about going to it just because I want to see a live show. But it's just not going to be the same if I have to sit in my car the whole entire time, because that's just
yeah, it's slightly odd. We're all creatures of habit. Basically, we're all used to going and seeing a live gig and a show, and there's no better feeling. Like, what was it I watched recently? It was NXS. It was a live gig. It was early 90s or something like that. It was at Wembley Stadium. I think Wembley Stadium takes like 60, 70,000 people or something. And basically, even just watching the Blu-ray, right, it's going, this is incredible. It's just, you see NXS playing, and they're great, they're an amazing band, but you see that whole audience, the whole 60, 70,000 are just jumping, and you're going, that's why you go to a gig. That's why it's that whole thing, it's that vibe, it's that, just the experience, and unfortunately, it's hard to recapture that on the internet in your granny's bedroom or something. I don't know, but it's the best of what we got right now. So we just have to go with it, and it's still good to see it.
we got to make do what we have now, but we have to work towards getting back to that feeling, because it's like with sports as well. People go and watch football matches, because last year when I was in Amsterdam, I got to see Ajax do it was a Champions League qualifier. I just went to the game just because I've never actually been to a European football match before. I want to see one in person. I went there for a Champions League qualifier, and the energy a half hour before the match even started was absolutely insane. It was almost like nothing I've never ever seen over here. So it just reminded me of what concerts were like at the same time too, and just the same feeling, that raw energy that you get from just everyone around you, just everyone happy, everyone in a good mood, because you're all there for one thing. It's like with going to concerts, you're all there to just enjoy the hell out of the music and just get let loose. Well, for me, most of the time, it's get into a mosh pit and just go nuts, because that's how I like to go about it. But it's just, I miss that a lot. And the internet can't recapture that, because it's like watching sports at home. You're not going to get the same feeling you do unless you're actually there.
It's true. It is true. It's the other night I watched a football game. Well, I didn't watch the full football game. I watched part of it, and there was nobody. there, and it was just a weird thing. The players are all still playing as if there's, you know, there's people there, but you could hear the players all shouting to each other on the field, which normally in a football game you can't hear anything because it's just noise, crowds, and stuff. But you could hear all the players shouting, over here, get it. And I go, what? That's weird, but okay. But so it's but yeah, we all love that. It's our escape. It's a party. That's really what a gig is. It's just a big party, and that's what we all miss. And we're all just not allowed to party anymore. We're have to sit in the house.
We have to sit in the house and reminisce about the times we got to go to those big giant parties.
I know. Well, hopefully we'll get back to going to the parties again. Mm-hmm.
Hopefully 2021 we're able to get back to going to those parties, just because I'm still thinking, my God, I miss the hell out of it, man.
Yeah, we all miss it, but I think the key is to get through it, is just to keep busy and just find something to do. There's always something to do. At the start of this whole thing for me, there's two ways I could have went. One way was sitting my ass and doing nothing, which I know a lot of musicians which have done that, and they're going insane. And whereas I decided, nope, I'm gonna make the most of this. I'm gonna plan, do stuff. I'm gonna make every day it's a routine. I have two young kids, so and it's very important for my kids to have a routine, because it's just good for their brain and their development and stuff. So, and it's good for my brain and development, because I would go insane sitting in the house watching TV all day. There's only so much Netflix I can watch. Now I'm into watching. I've watched all the A movies, watched all the B movies. Now I'm watching bloody C movies, which I'm turning off halfway through, going, "Oh, this is dreadful." But yeah, I think it's important just to keep going, keep busy. I've spent since March. I've recorded an instrumental album. I've done, lots of. I've started an acoustic stuff. I've done lots of session stuff. I've done lots of videos for, some of the endorsers that I have and stuff. So I just haven't really stopped, which is, and to be honest, I looked at my diary the other day and I went, it's nearly Christmas. Where did that year go? But the other part of me is thinking, such a crap year. But I was busy, so it's you just make it your own if you want. So.
Yeah, and that's the mentality you have to have too for something like this, because it's just somewhere you're gonna get lost if you don't keep going and you don't continue on, because yeah, like you said, you're gonna end up watching Netflix. You're gonna get through all the movies to the point where you're gonna end up watching just bad Nick Cage movies and turning them off halfway through because they're bad Nick Cage movies and you just can't stand it anymore. Even though I absolutely love watching those because they're just so stupid. But with what you were talking about, where yeah, you can't go out and play like this, but you're doing a lot of things for people that you're endorsed with. You're doing a lot of session stuff. You're recording a lot of stuff, and you're focusing in on what you can do now instead of what you were going to do. That's a huge thing. And I kind of took the same thing as well, especially with this podcast, because I wanted to get to a point where I'm like, I want to have this podcast be basically what it is today at the beginning of the pandemic, because I'm like, okay, I'm not really doing much here. So can we get something where all of a sudden I'm constantly interviewing all these different bands and artists? And I didn't want to have one during this pandemic where a week where I had to do an episode that was by myself anymore. I'm like, I don't want to do that. It happened twice, and it was right at the beginning. Ever since April, I've always had guests on, and now it's to the point where I'm doing 2 episodes a week. So just like, wasn't going to stop. Just keep on going.
Yeah, you just got to keep on going, man. You just got to keep doing stuff, keep busy. That's just human nature. That's the way of humans. That's the way we work. We have to be doing stuff. We have to be busy. We have to be working. They if you think about it, in prisons they put people in solitary confinement for months on end because it drives them insane. I was going, that's the same as being in lockdown and not going out and doing anything. So make good use of your time. That's doing the podcast thing is great. And the more you do it, the more, it's like anything, the more you do something, the more popular it gets, and it's like music. The more you get it out there, more people listen to you, and you just keeps building and building and building. So yeah.
And then also it's like the same thing. The more you do it, the better you get. So just constantly that practice makes perfect as you keep going on and on and on. And yeah, I can totally attest to that.
Yeah, it's that old saying, practice makes perfect, really. So.
Oh, easily. So I kind of want to jump into some of the music, especially what you have on with what you have right now on Spotify, especially with the new EP, with your covers of Dead in the Water and Kids Wanna Rock, because I mean that's what's coming out right now. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what I want to talk about at some point. So
Sure.
I specifically want to talk about Kids Wanna Rock because out of the two, that one definitely has more of that upbeat vibe, more that up tempo, like, you know, really get into it. And especially for something like myself, yeah, I can really get into something like that. So what was your decision to cover Kids Wanna Rock?
Well, it took a long time. We picked 8 cover songs for the series of EPs that are out at the minute. So it's always a hard decision trying to pick a cover song, you know, because I'm the sort of person, I don't want to do a cover of somebody else's song unless I can do it justice. You know what I mean? There's so many cover songs out there which people have done, and it's like, yeah, should have just left that one alone. But so it's always very difficult for me because I just have that mentality. I just because when I think about somebody else's song, it's like, you know, they have spent hours and put their heart and soul into something, and they've tried to make it the best that they possibly could. You know, so I want to do the same. I want to be able to take a song and go, oh, I know I can make that as good as the original. I'll try to, but still put my own thing in it. But Kids Wanna Rock was, it was strange one because it brought me back to when I was a kid, and I think it was somebody asked me what was one of the first guitar riffs I ever learned, and I told them yes, it was Kids Wanna Rock by Bryan Adams. Then I went, that's one I should try and cover. So yeah, it's not that it was the second thing I learned. That's, you know, the Kids Wanna Rock song. It was when I was started playing guitar, because it's an easy, simple little kind of bluesy rock guitar thing. So yeah, I was listening to it going, yeah, it's, you know, the original's amazing. And I was thought, what could I do different to this? And I thought, I think something else came on the screen. I think it was Foo Fighters or something. It was like, oh yeah, I could kind of take that, that kind of, oh, that'll kind of work in it, you know. And then when I was playing it, I kind of played something. I'm going, that kind of sounds a little bit like Black Sabbath, a little bit, you know. So it's kind of like Bryan Adams meets Foo Fighters meets Black Sabbath in a way, the way I think I've done it. Maybe other people listen to it and go, it sounds like, I don't know, Spice Girls or something. I don't know, but it's but yeah, I like the song. It's a great song. It's a simple song, and I think it's kind of current at the minute because, you know, a lot of kids out there, you know, rock music seems to be making a bit of a comeback, and, you know, kids do want to rock. You know, that's when I play it in my house, my kids are just jumping around the house to it. So when I was like, it's a good sign, you know, they're not jumping around to Westlife or something, you know, it's all rock stuff. So Westlife is banned in my house, or anything like that. So yeah, but it's yeah, no, it's a great song, and I, you know, I think I did a good job of it, and I think I put my own self into it as well, which is good. So, but yeah, it seems to be going down pretty well, and it's more on the rock side, which is basically me. I'm not really, you know, people call me a blues rock guitar player, and I go, I don't really play blues, you know, so it's mostly rock stuff that I'm into, because that's what I grew up listening to. I grew up in the '80s, so I don't in that, you know, hair metal phase. So I was, but whatever. So yeah.
So if that's the case, I should put my dad on the podcast just so you guys could talk about just 80s music the whole entire time. I mean, he would have been just like, yeah, just gone off on like just 70s, 80s stuff like ELO, Van Halen, Rush, ZZ Top, all the hair metal stuff. You would have gone off on it. But one thing I did like what you said about with the cover song is you wanted to pick something that you could do justice to, because you're right, there are a lot of covers out there that just kind of really fall flat, and some that probably shouldn't have ever been made. But then there are some where it's just they do the song justice and just add to it, like Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt by Nine Inch Nails, or Disturbed covering The Sound of Silence. I mean, they just really take those songs and just make them their own, but also keep the originals in mind so that it's something that's the same but new at the same time as well, and it just both end up being fantastic. And I like the fact that you take that mentality at the same time as well, just because, like you said, a lot of these artists, they put their heart and soul into these songs, and you want to make sure that when you put your twist on it, that you're not doing that any kind of disservice. And I do, after I was listening to it, because there was a couple things I picked up on, but when you mentioned kind of mixing with like a Foo Fighters kind of feel, I can totally see it now kind of running through my head. I was like, that totally makes sense, especially with the vocals, because I couldn't necessarily figure out like who it kind of reminded me of. It kind of reminded me of, it was like a mixture, just kind of how the tone of your voice was. It was like a mixture between Dave Grohl and Bruce Springsteen. It was something that really threw me off at first because I just wasn't expecting anything like that, but it was the right way to go, especially for the pace of the song.
Yeah, well, the thing is, certain songs, well, this is the process. As I said, it's a hard thing picking cover songs, but you find the ones which work are generally the ones which just come quite easy. Ideas start to come. Oh, I could do this, or I could do Black Sabbath thing, or do Foo Fighters. Whereas other songs, if you have to spend any more than 15 minutes trying to think of a way to do your own way of it, it's like, no, this is just not going to work. Like, I would never pick a song by, say, Chris Cornell or something, right? Because there's no way in a million years I could even attempt to sing like that, And I think when you mentioned like Johnny Cash and stuff, doing a lot of those cover songs that he did, the thing is, he just done songs in his own the way he does, the way he sings, the way he plays. He didn't try to be anything different. He just done it. That was it. And I think that's why it works. So I think if you just be yourself and pick stuff which you can just be yourself with, then do it. Some people try to do songs which is a little bit out of their range or out of their comfort zone. Or maybe that's the problem. I don't really know. But for me, it's just a case of I just need to pick stuff that kind of instantly feels kind of, oh, I can do this. Now, don't get me wrong. Some are harder than others to sing or play, but it's all about capturing that vibe, that instant thing where you go, yeah, this will work.
And that totally makes sense too. However, there are times where you could try something that's a little bit out of your range, a little bit maybe out of what you think you could probably pull off. And sometimes it could work out absolutely like incredible. And that's what happens when bands experiment with different sounds within their own sound as well. And sometimes you get to these experimentums, which at times you're just thinking, wait, this isn't going to make any sense when you put it on paper. But then all of a sudden you start playing it, you start putting it together, and it just sounds amazing. That can happen, but it doesn't happen all the time. However, it all depends upon what you want to do as a musician. And if you are definitely more comfortable with all of a sudden you're trying to think of something to cover and then bing, bang, boom, you find something that you just can really connect with right away and you figure out, okay, I want to go and cover it and I want to do it like this. Hell yeah, go for it, because then you get something like Kids Wanna Rock that just is, you get this like fun rock song that all of a sudden you add your own twist to it and it just has this real nice flow to it, upbeat, everything. And I swear to God, just crank this up for your kids. They're going to be going nuts to it.
Yeah, but you're correct when you say try some different stuff as well, because there was a song. What was the song I did? It was one of the covers. It's on the previous one. It's an old song by the Kinks. It's called "I Gotta Move," and it wasn't me who chose that song. It was my bass player. He plays with me, a guy called Dave Marks, and he played it to me, and like in the original's an old 50s rock and roll thing. It's like ding 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 ding. I was going, no, nah, I just can't do that. They said, no, try it. Think, Rage Against the Machine or something, slow it down. And I was like, okay. I just honestly didn't really want to do it at all. And then he started playing with it, and I started playing with it, and I was going, actually, this is kind of not too bad. It's worked. So, but yeah, it turned out really well. We went down that, we slowed it right down and went into that kind of Rage Against the Machine kind of heavy groove vibe on it. So, and it worked. So that is an example of basically, taking something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone and trying to make it work. To be honest, Dead in the Water was a little bit out of my comfort zone too. I was kind of a little bit going, it's a great song. Don't get me wrong. It is a great song by David Gray, but I felt, because David Gray's more in that kind of pop thing, I didn't know how it would work, making it more rock. But immediately when I heard it, I went, James Bond. Sounds like James Bond. Right. Let's do that. Let's make it more heavier, rockier, like James, like something you would hear in one of the James Bond soundtracks. So, but anyway, That's the other thing.
Yeah, like with Dead Water, like kind of thinking, I kind of picked up on that a little bit because when I was younger, my brother, big James Bond fan, he always had like the DVD collections of every single James Bond film from Sean Connery through Pierce Brosnan, because that's when they came out. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Daniel Craig starts being Bond. So all of a sudden he starts getting the DVDs until Skyfall came out. Then he's like, nah, I'm just gonna stream all these. So we would always watch those, and all of a sudden, you'd get to the intro, through the intro, you get to the whole entire theme song for the movie. And at one point, the only one that we wouldn't skip was Live and Let Die, because you got Paul McCartney singing on that one. You can't really pass that up. But you listen to a bunch of the other ones too, it does have this real melodic, theatrical kind of feel to it. And when it comes to Dead in the Water, you really took that theatric and kind of turned that into something a little bit deeper and heavier, and not as just like blatantly just wah, like theatrical style, just more of just this ooh kind of style. Just, I don't know how to describe it outside of just ooh.
Sorry, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Just do it again. Do it 5 times. That ooh.
Just ooh. I'll come up with the wackiest descriptions I can just to try and like figure it out, but sometimes they work and sometimes there's that, which I'm not sure if it works or not. We'll see what happens when this episode comes out.
Well, it works. It works. Everybody has their own way of describing music and how they feel and stuff. So yeah, it's good. So yeah, I might use that one.
Feel free to.
Well, I will. Feel free.
Just okay. I gotta stop saying that because I'm just gonna keep saying that the whole entire rest of the time now. Yikes.
No, I know. But yeah, it's the James Bond thing. That Dead in the Water song. It just brought me instantly back to one of the James Bond movies. I can't remember. I think it might have been the one that maybe Chris Cornell did. I don't know. He did one of the soundtracks for it, but that was my immediate inspiration for just that song, Dead in the Water, because some of the chord changes in it are very James Bond-esque. So I was like, okay, let's just go, let's go there, but not too far, So I didn't want to go the whole theatrical thing and make it mad. It was more the ooh.
I feel like when live shows come back, what you're gonna have to do to start out your set is just to have like the James Bond, like the actual theme just start playing, and then just have like a spotlight follow you as you walk out, and then all of a sudden you just pick up your guitar, and the next thing you know, like the spotlight just starts turning red from top to bottom.
It's a good idea. I like that. I might try that.
If I get a chance to see you live and I see that, all I'm gonna do is just put my hands in the air and just go, yes, he did it. He did it.
Yeah, I know. Or else I'll come out in a tuxedo and a dicky bow and pretend to be James Bond playing the guitar. That could be a new image, actually. Dicky bow. No, whatever.
But I don't know. That might get a little uncomfortable on stage at some points.
Well, all the blues players used to wear suits, so I'm kind of going, just a dicky bow and then no, okay.
You have to make sure you get the sunglasses too at some point. Just just rip them off.
Could do a few guns or something, maybe. No, I don't know. What am I talking about? No, I'm talking about James Bond on stage.
we go from Dead in the Water to James Bond just like that, and that's why I love this podcast, because that just happens all the time with just the wackiness that comes out of it. So
yeah, that's the joy of conversation.
Oh yeah. So because I don't think I saw. What other cover songs do you have coming out on the new EP that it's out on the 23rd of October for everybody listening at home?
It's just those 2 songs which are on each EP. It just has 4 songs, so it has the two covers which you heard, and then there's a track coming out called Trouble, which is my own song. Then there's a live track on it. So each EP has 2 covers, 1 original, and 1 live track. The live track is original anyway, but it's a track called Fat Pockets. It was an old one I did. I say live. We recorded it in Chameleon Studios in Hamburg, which is a big, famous studio. It's iconic. There's been so many big artists over the years. Historic artists like I think even the Beatles and stuff played in there, recorded in there, and Ike and Tina Turner, and all big artists. So anyway, they had this huge big live room, and I was in the middle of a tour, and the record company phoned me and asked me could I just come in and just play the whole set. They want to record it just live. So it was literally the three of us in a room, just playing a gig. That was it. So that's it's like a little bonus on each EP. So it's that live track. So, but in the previous EPs there was this is where my old brain doesn't work. So we did the last EP was called 100 Days, and I think we had the Kinks track on there, which was I can't remember now.
I Gotta Move.
I Gotta Move. That's it. Yes, see, I'm old. What was the other one? Oh God, I can't remember.
I'll say I've got it pulled up if you want me to run through the tracks you have on there.
Yeah. What was on the last 100 Days?
Yeah, so you had 100 Days, Give Me Something Good, I Gotta Move, and Hell Water's Rising.
That's right. So Give Me Something Good. That was Ryan Adams. What is it with me picking songs by people with the second name of Adams? Ryan Adams? I don't know. Anyway, it was so funny, right? That Ryan Adams song. As we all know, Ryan Adams was in the press a while back there for being a bit controversial, and which we'll not go into. So I had just literally finished that song, got it mixed. The next day, the whole Ryan Adams scandal hit, and I was like, I was like, oh come on. So obviously, it was supposed to be on the first kind of EP. So, but because that all hit, it was like, no, we can't put that out right now because it's too much bad press around that at the minute. So, but yeah, because I really liked that track, and I thought I did a really good job of it. I kind of went old school Fleetwood Mac on it a little bit. So that was and no matter music's music to me, and Ryan Adams is he's a great songwriter, and some of that song is just an amazing song, I felt. So but the other one, I Gotta Move, as they said, I didn't want to do that at the start. Then the first EP you had Show Me How to Love, and then what was else on Show Me How to Love?
You had Show Me How to Love, Dead Man Walking, Grandma's Hands, and Love Song. Thank you, Spotify, and thank you, 3 Screens, because otherwise I'd be like, just give me a minute, and just like tapping like crazy on my computer.
You think I know this stuff, but I think my life is disorganized chaos. Like most musicians' lives is disorganized chaos. But yeah, so we did Grandma's Hands. That's an old Bill Withers song, and I don't know. I'm not sure if anybody's really recorded that song in its entirety, as a cover. A lot of people took the intro and they sampled it years ago for a track called No Diggity or something. It was a little intro of the song, which never appears in the song again, but it was just the very start of it. But I didn't do that. I just took the rest of the song because the song was a great song. So I decided to do that. But yeah, it's always hard doing those kind of soul songs because those singers, Bill Withers, a phenomenal singer, and they just have a flow with how they sing and how they phrase their lines and their words. It's very, very hard to do because most rock singers, it's all very straight, everything lines up perfectly. Whereas when you're singing that kind of R&B soul stuff, it's like you're on the beat, you're off the beat, you're behind the beat, it's ahead of the beat. It's all over the shop, but that's what makes the style as it is. So then we also would have Love Song. That was the other cover on that one. That's another one actually I didn't want to do again. But yeah, it was who was it? Yeah, again, it was the bass player again. He chose this one, bloody bass players. But he mentioned this to me because the original is nothing like what I did. It's like I said to him, it sounds like an Irish jig. What's going on? I don't want to do that, but I know it's a big, massive song. It's an iconic song from the 80s and stuff. But as he said to me, he says, let's slow it down. And we slowed it down, and I immediately thought of Gary Moore, like Still Got the Blues, because I listened to the melody on the Love Song thing, and it's a repeated motif, which basically, it's a melody which, plays the same thing, but moves down like in tone or in pitch. which is a bit like one of my favorite songs by Gary Merkel, Still Got the Blues. It's a guitar melody. It's the same pattern, just plays it, moves down a few notes, plays it again, moves down a few notes. And that's what makes the song. And I thought, let me try this really slow. And it seemed to work. And record company loved it. We all thought it was great, and again, but so that was me being proven wrong again. So, no, what do I know about music? I don't know anything. So after that, I just shut up and go, people just pick songs for me. I'll just do them. So, but yeah, I like that one. It was a hard one because, because the vocals in that are they're the same words basically most whole way through. So it's very hard to make it different at a slower tempo, because when you're singing a song and it's quite fast, like the original was a lot faster. You can repeat the same words in the verses, and it works. Whereas a slow song, you can really hear what the words are, what we're saying. So you can't really get away with as much. So I decided to follow that kind of R&B thing and try to twist and turn and play behind the beat with the vocals and stuff like that. So, and yeah, it turned out pretty well. So I was happy with the end product when it came to all of the cover songs. Worked out pretty well. What else? The first song, and then again, a lot of the other ones are just Hell Waters Rise, and that's off my first record from, I don't know, 2008, I think. And then Dead Man Walking, it's just, I think it was off one of the second records I did, which you can't really get anymore. They've all been taken down. So, but yeah, I've done a lot of music this year.
All right. First thing is when it comes to cover songs, just remember, if your bass player is going to suggest something, maybe actually listen to it, even if you don't want to do it, because it seems like it worked out. But then, like with the songs you have on these EPs that are originally yours from albums that you did earlier that you can't find, is there a specific reason behind why they're not uploaded on the internet at all?
No, it's just because a lot of the earlier albums were more kind of in that bluesy rock phase, and we were, to try and draw attention to what we're doing now. It's, we decided to temporarily, take them down just because we want to draw people to the new stuff, and not have them go straight to the older stuff, because the older stuff it's been out in 2008, so it's there. We will re-release it again, at some point, in the future. But it's just, sometimes you just have to do these things in the industry just to, because with today's market, as we talked about earlier, people basically have lots of music out there. There's so much information. There's so much. You go on Spotify or Apple Music, it's just like pages, hundreds, thousands of albums, artists out there. So if I want to draw somebody new to what I'm doing, I'm going, okay, this is what I want them to hear. I don't want them to hear something I did, 12 years ago or longer. I want them to hear this. They can listen to that later on if they want. So, but so yeah, that's basically the reason for it.
I can easily see you're coming from, too, just again with the fact that you want to draw people into more of the newer stuff, into more of the newer sound that you're working with from the past 10 years, instead of all of a sudden just having something else on there. So people will be scrolling through, all of a sudden they find something older, maybe on Spotify, using Spotify as the perfect example. Maybe one of those tracks from like 2008, 2006 has a lot more of a bluesy feel to it, ends up being like your top song on Spotify. So when people take a look at the top 5 and they hit the first one, they're hearing more of a bluesy kind of thing. So they kind of already assume after, first impression, boom, this is what you are, and pass on it.
Yeah.
And when all of a sudden it's like, well, for the past 10 years, we kind of shifted away from the blues and gone especially more towards that just straight rock kind of style. So we want to bring you into that, but we just don't want that being overshadowed by maybe something that we did beforehand that a lot of original fans really got into. So they're pushing up the Spotify charts. It's all a calculated game here.
It is. You just got to be smart about things when it comes to, today's game, as you want to call it. The music industry is just one big game. So it's, as you say, if I send somebody new to go check my stuff out, and the first thing they hear is something I did, 15 years ago, the problem is a lot of people won't search or listen to a lot of stuff. It's like, I call it now. It's a 60 second fee. Is basically you're gone in 60 seconds. Or you remember that old movie, Gone in 60 Seconds? It's
Back to the Nick Cage movies. Oh yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's like but that's music these days. It's nearly like you have to give it's just your first 60 seconds of any song is your calling card. That's it. That's what you do. And if you don't get, because a lot of people won't, if they don't like what they hear in the first 60 seconds, they won't listen to the next one. They'll not even listen to they'll just go on to some other artist. And that's just the nature of the beast right now with the world. And we have so much else out there. 30 years ago we didn't have internet, we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have video games. All we had was, I'm talking as if I was around 30 years ago. I was actually. Oh my god. Yeah, I was 10 30 years ago. Actually. So yeah, so yeah, I was around 30. Yeah, we didn't have that, and music was basically everything. So people would listen to even. I remember artists used to bring out an album, and they would maybe have two or three good songs on it, and the others were just like what they used to call album tracks, which loosely meant not great tracks, not singles and not number ones. It's like these days on any album you release, you kind of nearly have to have every song a number one hit, if you know what I mean. Whereas back then it was like but people still loved a lot of the album tracks because they really used to sit and get into the music and listen to it, because it's all they had. They didn't have, phones or whatnot, and like most people spend their lives looking at this, spend their life through a phone these days, which is quite bizarre. I remember being in China doing a show and just walking around videoing everything, but well, that's just me being a grumpy old man.
Well, it's understandable too. It's just because we'll jump back 30 years ago, because people, when they were listening to music, and if they were like a band they were interested in, and they came out with a new album, you'd go out and physically buy that new album, whether it was a cassette or a CD. But the thing was you actually invested in that, so you want to listen to the whole thing to make sure you got the return on your investment. Here's my econ background coming into the podcast at this point, but so it's just an incentive to just keep listening and keep seeing if there's something there that you like. Where now it's if you subscribe to Spotify, it's like $7.99 a month, and then you get as much music as you want. And all of a sudden, if you don't like something right away, you can quickly skip to something that you like, or skip to something completely different, and you're not going to give that a shot. Where someone like in my position is a little bit different. Like if there's an album that I want to listen to and I really want to get in deep with, I kind of have to force myself to go through the whole entire thing and not skip anything. And it's just, because if I want to review it and I want to do a good job on it, I'm going to have to listen to this thing a couple of times, and maybe there's a song the first time I listen to it that it doesn't hit me right away, but then all of a sudden I come back to it the second time, and it's just like, okay, let's just see if maybe I was distracted or something, because this happened with probably like my favorite song from the year so far, because I was driving from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Madison to see a concert, and my friend told me about this album, so I'm like, okay, I'll listen to it. I listened to it, and this one song stuck out to me. All of a sudden I listened to the album again as I kept going, because I'm like, let's give it another shot. And the song that stuck out to me again. But then 2 songs later, there was one that I just got completely blown away by the second time, because I wasn't distracted. I was actually focused in on it. And it just talked all about depression and like what it just feels like to be overwhelmed by it. And just the sound of it was absolutely perfect to describe something that I'd gone through 3 years ago. So without being distracted by it, like I just got entirely into this song. However, if I was not that dedicated and really listening to this album, I could have completely missed out on all of that.
Yeah, it's true. It's there's so much in an album. When you think about it, if an artist goes in the studio to record it, they're putting so much information into that, and a lot of people don't get to hear that, and it's quite sad that way, because if you listen to an album, fair enough, some of the songs might not be the standout ones, but there may be certain element of that song, like, oh, did you check that killer guitar riff, or the drummer does a serious fill there, or the vocals, there's always something, in it. It's funny, like I listen, like I'm guilty. I do the same thing. I skip through tracks on Apple Music or Spotify, whatever. But and if I'm becoming more modern. If not doing it in 60 seconds, I'm like, no, next. But, no, I'm not that bad. But Uh, Sometimes I find, as like I said, people have too much else going on. It's on their phone, or their work or busy. It's like sometimes music is like now become a little bit like background music. I find for me when I listen to music, I don't listen to it in the house. If it's in the house, it's on in the background. But um, if I'm driving in the car, that's when I listen to music because I'm not doing anything else apart from driving. Obviously, it's a big thing. But that's when I can really listen to music. Or if I'm going for a run in the morning or something, I get the headphones on and that's now I listen to music and I really listen to it and understand it. Like I remember I recently got a vinyl player, a record player about a year and a half ago. And I remember I stuck on, it was a Led Zeppelin, whatever it was, the one with, I can't remember the name of the album. I think it's just called Led Zeppelin, but it has like Kashmir and Black Dog and all that stuff. And I stuck it on and I sat there and I was listening to it going, next thing I knew, the album was over. It just sucked me right in the music. I was just like, it's like you're part of it or something. You're just sitting there listening. And I'm going, I wish everybody in the world could have that experience of just listening to something and getting fully engulfed in it, because it does take you away, and you now understand why people were so obsessed with music so long ago. Like in the 70s and the 80s, because it was their life, and it was that, like, if you had a shitty day at work, and you come home and it was their way of to escape, get away, from all the bad things that were happening or whatever. Because it takes you there, it takes you to a different place, and especially probably more of the songs which are not the number one hits. Some of the songs which have real depth and meaning to, you really listen to, and you really listen to what's going on. It just takes you somewhere else, that's what music does, and I only wish people could really truly hear that, or get into that again. Don't get me wrong. There probably is lots of people who do that. Probably people going on now shouting, going, "I do listen to music. Why is he saying this?" But it's just music is a wonderful thing. I know if I didn't have music in my life, I would be miserable. I know, because there was 2 weeks during lockdown. I didn't know. I didn't do music, and I don't know what was happening. And I realized I was grumpy every day, and I went, I haven't played music in 2 weeks, right? Back out in the studio, I started playing guitar, and ever since I've been happy again. So it's a big, music is a great thing for everybody to have, I believe. So.
Oh, it really is. And when it comes to talking about like listening to, like getting a vinyl player, listening to it, and just getting lost in the album and just wishing other people could experience that, don't worry, I already do.
Good man, good man. My dad has 2 record players, so it has.
It's like with the vinyls I get, a lot of them are more modern, like stuff that I would listen to today. Like I get a lot of that, but then I've got my best friend. It's like every year for my birthday, he ends up getting me some used vinyl he finds. I don't know where he finds them, but the past 2 years, he's like, what he's got me is just absolutely been killer. Like he found me an original vinyl for Back in Black by AC/DC. I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. And then last year he's like, yeah, I found it for $2. I hope you like it. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be great. $2 for my birthday. Nice. I open it up and it was ZZ Top's Eliminator on vinyl. I'm just sitting there. I'm just thinking, dude, you killed it with this. Are you kidding me? So we were playing video games and just, I had it going, and all of a sudden I'm just listening to it. And I'm just like remembering all these times that when I was younger, where my dad had the Eliminator CD, he put in his, stereo, like 1980 stereo with the tower speakers in the basement. We just crank it up, and like 2-year-old 3-year-old me is like air guitaring like a madman, even though I don't know what the heck I'm doing, to Sharp Dressed Man and Under Pressure. And then the song I've Got the Six, which it took me a long time to realize what that song was actually about, and why my dad actually played that song for me and my brother when we were like 3-4 years old. Oh my god, I still don't understand why, but it's still a hilarious story, just because when the chorus is, I've got the 6, give me your 9, and I'm listening to that as a 2-year-old. Okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. It's funny how kids, when you're that age, like my kids pick up on things and they're laughing away, and I'm going, what? What's funny about this? But whatever. Yeah, the thing is with vinyl, when you have vinyl, it's you open it and it's like, you get pictures, you get all the stuff in there, and it's like, wow, this is really cool. You get to see pictures of the band and stuff. But yeah, it's an experience having a physical product now rather than a digital download. I still like getting, vinyl. I have slowly building up a collection of vinyl and stuff, of a lot of bands, and but I still have, I have Apple Music now, right now, or yeah, it is Apple Music. I use that all the time. It's great for me as a musician using it, because it's, if I want something, I can have it there and then, quite quick. So, but,
Yeah, I think through this conversation, I figured out why, when it comes to streaming, why it's just people just pass over stuff. It's because they're not, like buying it, said by a physical copy, you're not as invested into it anymore. So it's just, if something doesn't hit you right away, you can quickly go and change something that either is going to, you're going to try something else. And if it doesn't hit you in the first, gone in 6 seconds, if it doesn't hit you in that first minute, boom, I'm getting rid of it. You might not ever listen to it again, but say you were distracted when you had it on, you might not really pay attention to it, but it might be a song that just completely hits you in a different way. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, you listen to it again, you're like, oh my God, what song was that? Someone tells you what song it is, and you're just thinking, I listened to that 2 years ago, and I passed it up, and it hits me like this. What was I thinking?
yeah, it's but like, people send me music, and I always try to listen to it, because you just never know what's if it's going to be good. It could be the best thing in the world, and I always try to listen to everything. If somebody recommends a new artist, I'll go listen to it, and I'll give it a go. I always listen to stuff. I don't just flick through it. Sometimes I do the Gone in 60 Seconds thing, but I a lot of the time, if it's kind of a style of music I'll be into, I think I'll go, oh, I'll try this. Like, there's been a few bands people have recommended to me, and I've listened to it, and I went, and then I've just skipped past, and I've never listened to them again. I couldn't tell you their name, but yeah, it's just a strange world musically. People, I suppose it's okay from the likes of me telling people, try listening to music, but music is my life, and that's what I do. And so it's hard to get across to people that, if you can experience what I do, you would feel the same. But then again, you got to remember, a lot of people who listen to music they're not musicians. They don't understand. They just hear a song, and that's it, a good song. So um, you always got to remember, who's listening to your music as well. Is it another musician? Because a musician will listen to your music in a different way to a normal person. A normal person will just listen to it from a surface. A musician will listen to it quite deep. They will be listening for, drum parts or vocal parts, or what's, harmonies and all that stuff. Whereas a normal person will listen to it just from the outset, and they'll not think about any of that stuff. And sometimes you got to do that to make a good song too. You got to think about it from a person's perspective of not being a musician. So, but yeah.
And that's something else to remember too, with, because some of the bands I've talked to with some of their albums, some of their songs, they've gotten different reviews on, like, I'll say, yeah, we didn't get a good review on that from this publication. I actually read one of those, and I just basically said to this band, I'm like, well, I think it's just because the person that reviewed it looked at it from that surface level. However, where I got a completely different interpretation from it was because when I look at it out, it's like, okay, I'm gonna listen to it once, maybe listen to it twice, and then I'm gonna go through each song, take a look at the lyrics, and really understand it, so I can figure out what's going on here. And when you do that, one thing I really get behind that is you can figure out the theme of the song, and you can figure out how that sound of the song and the style of vocals and just the pitch, everything about it matches up with that theme to really put across the emotion that's trying to be put across through that song. And it's like, it completely can change the game for an album. It completely can change a game for anyone listening to it if you just listen to it in a little bit more of a different way, maybe a little bit more of a deeper analytical way, instead of just, okay, I'm listening to it once, and does it hit me, yes or no? Because that can kind of you can miss out on a lot of great songs by just saying, I'm just going to listen and see what happens. And just, if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. If you look at it a little bit deeper, you can figure out not only why you might not like it, but you can also figure out a completely different meaning to it that hits you in a totally different way you weren't expecting.
Yeah, that's why, lyrics are very important in songs, because, people who are non-musicians, who listen to it from the surface, there is one thing they do understand, and that's words. So we're all the same. We all speak a language, and if you have terrible lyrics, that will put those people off straight away. They go, what? What's he singing about? Or they don't understand the lyrics. So, it's that it's always a big thing. Having good lyrics in a song is very important because, you know, imagine imagine reading a book with a terrible story. Well, you wouldn't listen to it. You wouldn't read it for any longer than a few pages. I watched. I bought a movie. Sorry, I rented a movie the other night. I'll not say which one it was. I can't remember what it was. It was something. Do you remember the guy that TV show Frasier?
Yeah.
Kelsey. It was him, Kelsey Grammer, and I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, it was this movie, and it cost me £5 to rent. And normally I'll sit through anything, whatever. If it's crap, I'll give it a go. Right? I'll sit there till the end because I'm stubborn. I couldn't get past 5 minutes of this because this script was so horrendously bad. I was like, I think I looked at my wife and went, is this for real? Like, this is just terrible. Absolutely. So, it's the same for music. If you're listening to music and the lyrics are terrible, music may be great. Again, normal people won't understand. They'll know that, yeah, this is kind of cool, but they're mostly focusing in on the lyrics. So lyrics are a big thing, and that's why you had like musicians like Elton John years ago, and he didn't write any lyrics because he was like, I can't write lyrics; they're terrible. So he had his sidekick, who wrote all the lyrics. So they were a team. So basically, he was great. He wrote lots of poetry. This other guy, can't remember his name. There's a movie about it, but anyway. So it's very important because that's the one thing that people understand is words. And if you tell a crap story, people aren't going to buy it.
Yeah, it's like the don't judge a book by its cover, because if you just listen to it once, all of a sudden that if you think it's crap, it's like, well, imagine like going back in the mid to late 90s, people saw this name Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone, whatever it was. It's just, yeah, it doesn't seem like anything cool, but all of a sudden people actually open it up and read it, and it was just something that took the world by storm. It's same thing for music. If all of a sudden you just don't like it from like the first 10 seconds, first 15 seconds, you're just looking at a certain part in it. You're looking at the cover of it, and it's just, oh, I don't like this. It's just, well, did you actually like open it up and see what it was about? Because if you do that, you're going to get a whole different feel from it. And if you really didn't like it, and then you listen to the whole entire thing, you might figure out exactly for yourself why you just didn't care for that song as much. And then maybe go on to the next one from that same artist and give that a shot, just because there might be a piece there. It's like, I want to see if this artist keeps doing a certain aspect that I'm really locking into later on in this album or this EP or just like the next single or something like that.
Yeah, you just gotta keep listening to music and just listen deep to it and listen to what's going on. And there's lots of bands out there like Muse. Muse, the big rock.
Yep.
They're a cult band basically. But they've kind of crossed over now. But they're massive. I remember when they first started, they were just like a cult following, but people really dug their music. There was no real catchy choruses or anything like that. There was no pop stuff going on, but it becomes a cult because people get into the music, they dug what was going on, and so it's an example of how you can really it's my kids going to say hello, so clear off. No, so yeah, you gotta basically just get into it and just listen to more of what's going on from the artist, because as I said before, even when I was talking about doing covers, artists put their heart and soul into stuff. So it's worth giving it a listen to see if there's anything in there that you like.
Oh, very much so. And take a look at the time right now, because I've got to jump. I got another one I got to do in these about 20 minutes. And I like, there's one thing I want to talk about is because like Tim put, you had an incredible backstory, but man, I had so much fun just talking about just music theory and idea with you throughout the year of 2020, because I've never really gone this deep into music with someone like this, just kind of the thought process behind songwriting, song creating, and then just also getting into music like we have. This was absolutely incredible. I loved every minute of this.
Oh, it was fun. It was fun.
Maybe a little bit different than what I was expecting, maybe a little bit different than what you were expecting, but I still thought this, I'm like, my mind just kind of thinking about some of these things, and like, now a lot of these things are making more sense when it comes to like music being put out in 2020, experiencing music, and then also figuring out why people have different experiences when listening to music versus what I have.
Yeah, it's as I said, a lot of people don't get the opportunity to, experience what other people experience because people are too busy. So sometimes doing things like this, like podcasts, and talking a little bit about the deeper understanding of music can enlighten people a little bit, I think, and make people think and go, maybe I should give that album, which I turned off after 60 seconds. There we go. So hopefully it helps people to get back into listening to music or change the way people think about it. I don't know. Maybe they won't.
I'm hoping it does, though, and I'm just going to keep pushing to see if I can make that happen where all of a sudden, people start listening to more music a little bit more than just that, like, first 10 seconds of the Gone in 60 Seconds kind of style, because there's so much good stuff out there. There's so much good stuff coming out right now, especially with being in a pandemic. Everyone's going through different emotions, so those emotions are going to come out in those songs. So please, just give them a listen, guys. Just give it. If you just give it more than just that 10 seconds to figure out if you like it or not. Look at it more than just the cover. Look at it more than just the surface.
Yeah, exactly. Just look at it. Music talks to you. I think, when you listen to it, it takes you on a journey, takes you on a path, takes you somewhere different than where you are. It's like watching a really, really good movie. Takes you on a journey. Music does the same thing. So.
Exactly. I love that. Alrighty, before we sign off, Simon, is there anything any last words you want to say? Anything you want to get in there before we give you a little sayonara? No,
just the EP is coming out on whatever date, and I never know the information. That's why I have the record company doing all this. But yeah, no, just come check out my stuff, have a listen. Go to my social media and stuff, see what's happening, see what's going down.
Fair enough. And then to make it easier on you guys, because you guys hear me talk about this all the time, when it comes to YouTube video, look at the description of the video. When it comes to the podcast on Spotify Podcast, Google Play, iHeart Radio, just take a look at the description. Any link for Simon McBride when it comes to socials, when it comes to website merch, when it comes to where you can stream his music, listen to his music, just look at the description. All the links are going to be right there. It's a one-stop shop for you guys and making it as easy as possible on you.
Good man.
Alrighty, Simon. Well, hopefully 2021, when that rolls around and hopefully everything's kind of opening back up again, we can get back to live shows. And if I see you anywhere playing near where I am at that moment, I'm seeing you live.
Good. I'll see you there.
Alrighty, Simon. I'm going to end this with not a goodbye, because that's a promise I'm going to make you to see you live. So I'm just going to end it with a see you later.
See you later, man.
Ooh, well, folks, that was my interview with Simon McBride, and that was fantastic. I mean, I'm still thinking about it. Through that conversation with him, I've learned so much about music industry in 2020, and just thinking about what happens when music gets released, why people are doing the things they're doing right now, and also just the thought process behind why people listen to music and why people are skipping over stuff, and why it's just some artists think, you have to come out with something that's like an absolute banger on every single one and really stick out in the first 15 seconds, or 60 seconds, so you don't have Gone in 6 Seconds Nick Cage style. So this one was awesome. I really hope to see Simon live in 2021, because his style is incredible. He's very versatile if you listen to his EP. So go check out the new one. It comes out on October 23rd. Link to the description below for everything for him. And please follow us. All our links in the description below. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you may. And that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you at MSOTD Rocks or Rock and Metal Thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with a big, healthy, and hearty see ya!